Singer and Philadelphia native Reese made her indelible mark in 2002 with their critically acclaimed debut album, How I Do. Many fans and critics consider this debut a classic that arguably paved the way for the genre that would later be known as alternative R&B. Since then, she's dropped 2 limited releases, 2010's Black Girls Rock and 2013's Refried Mac. I sat down with Reese recently to discuss the 20th anniversary of her debut album and the formation of her new label where she will soon release new music.
I've been doing a lot of things. We all dealt with the whole pandemic situation. During that time, I was like, okay, what are we going to do? And I was with my partner, Steve McKee, and we realized, okay, we have this studio, we have ourselves, we have nothing but time, and we just got in really great shape and we made music. And so we made new songs. I, contributed to his new album that's coming out soon.
Okay.
We figured out how to perform for people, from our studio, into people's like cell phones, through Instagram and all the online channels. We just did a lot of experimenting. We experimented doing shows, new songs, old songs, doing songs in a different way. And also DJing. I started, it was something that I've done years ago and I put it down. And briefly, I did it for like 2 years in New York when I was living there. And it just stopped. And then when I moved to LA and then I moved back to Philly, and then we were in a pandemic, it was like, okay, it was a natural thing to pick back up. It's like, I have all the equipment. Why not? Now I have all the time in the world.
Yeah.
It was really fun. And then I started, doing a little bit online, like every Friday at noon. And now I'm, DJing at different clubs in the city and different events. And it's been fun. And I get to just play all my favorite songs that influence me and my music and, things that I grew up listening to things that I like now. And it's just another outlet for me. And it's really fun. And I'm looking forward to doing more of it. And I probably will go out to the park on some days and just like spin for, the in the neighborhood that I live in West Philly. But I'm also performing too. I'm like getting back into performing. And I'm going to release new music. And I actually started a label called Reset Society. Out of a necessity just to get how I do back in print, Right now, it's not in print. You can't buy it. If someone has it, it's for an exorbitant amount. I'm really excited. We're going to have a new cover to it. It's there's like a special like thing to it, but that I'll reveal later on when we do like the whole rollout. But it's going to be very special. It's coming directly from me to the fans. It actually made me have to start my own record label, which ended up being the best thing for me because, the label, they weren't interested in putting out vinyl copies of How I Do, like the anniversary version. And I was, and I knew that my fans would like it. I knew it was something that people, when they come see me, it would be something they could, purchase, sign it for them. And it could be like a moment, you know what I mean? And also it's like a great piece of vinyl to have. And so that's what kind of kickstarted me to be more entrepreneurial with, my business and say, hey, let me take it to the next step and not only, ask for it to be back into, vinyl and back into print, but actually be responsible for it. So I started a label for that. And now it's like kickstarting me into wanting to release all of my own music independently. So that's that's the wave. And, for most artists, I feel like that's like the norm, For me, I started off being on a major label and being signed and to now take it to saying, yeah, I definitely want a label. I'm pressing up my own vinyl to put it back in the stores, and with the resurgence of vinyl, it feels good. It feels really good.
We were first signed with Geffen when you did How I Do. And now you're independent. And I just find it so odd for them to think that there was no interest in How I Do on vinyl. Because if you look on Twitter, a lot of the times what I see when people are in conversation about what alternative R&B is now, you're in that conversation as someone that was doing that like 20 years ago. When people talk about the SZAs and such, and like even Solange, they're like, okay, but can we give some love to like someone that, really, you, Sandy Gold, who's also from Philadelphia, who maybe people are seeing as maybe was just a little ahead of their time. How do you feel about being someone that is mentioned in that conversation as being a pioneer for what we know is alternative R&B right now?
It makes me feel great. I mean, you never know how much of an impact what you do is going to have at the time of you doing.
Right.
And we really had no idea. We just, were excited that I was able to be signed and to make such an album, any way I wanted to make. I could use whatever, musicians I wanted to at the time. And I got to pick my producers and, it was just a good time for that. And I feel like, there was a lot of different artists that were doing, pretty much what they wanted and just a little offbeat and an off brand or whatever you want to call it. But I think it made for some of the best albums of the early 2000s. And it's definitely like an era and a thing to hold on to. And, you can hear the influence and see the influence in other artists. And it's just like, okay, it really makes you, more than anything, it makes me feel like, I did something right. Like I really did a great record, He really did a great record because it was, the producer, it was the management at the time, it was the person writing the songs, it was me singing. And us together created such a great album.
Yeah. It was the packaging, was the videos. I remember the visuals, the first time seeing Golden Boys and how important it was for a lot of women that look like you to see you on screen. That was a big deal in 2000.
That. A lot of people say that. They're like, it was someone that I looked like or I wanted to look like, or, it was a brown girl like me that wasn't just, into the stereotypical, urban R&B thing. And
right.
And it just feels good to be, someone who really represented a large group of people. And I didn't even know it at the time,
Yeah.
But I was just being me. This is how I do. This is what I do. This is how I look. This is how I want to look. And to know that, wow, it was that many people feeling the same way at the same time. And I really captured, a moment for them. It's like, that's huge. That's like,
it is
the whole thing for me,
It is. It really is. I think what's really interesting is that like now talking about alternative R&B, when you first came out, I feel like maybe people didn't know what to call it. You know what I mean? It was maybe later, a little later is when Afro punk came to be, right. Where they were like, okay, let's throw everything into being Afro punk. Before then, especially being from Philadelphia, let's throw everything into neo soul. Okay. Let's make it, neo soul, acid jazz or whatever. Do you ever feel like people have a hard time classifying your music? Have you felt like kind of bound by that?
I think more than anything, everything that came before its time, it later got a name for it. It had a classification. It had a, and to me, that's the most important thing. I mean, at the time, people were saying, "Oh, it's neo soul," and it wasn't neo soul for the time.
Okay.
Know how it was going to develop, but they figured, from the way you look and from where you're from, and if you're not doing a stereotypical thing or the mainstream thing, then it seemed like we all just kind of were pushed to neo soul, whether we had this hint of more rock and roll in it, or this hint of more Stevie Wonder in it, or this, or air vibe or whatever it was. But I think it's great now. The most important part is that we came from that point, but now, there's a definition for it, and there's certain artists that hit on it exactly, and it does have a name. And I did genre blend a bit, and I think we're now landed at like alternative R&B. That's kind of what it is, and I'm cool with that. And it was most important to make that kind of music versus to just name it.
Yeah.
But people really caught on to it. I mean, I have fans like all over from different age groups, and long as the music is getting out to people and getting out to such a variety, then that's whatever they want to call it, they can call it. It doesn't matter.
You've been doing some city winery shows around the country, and like I said, you're doing City Winery in Philadelphia on June 3rd. Tell us about what we can expect, because this isn't a How I Do anniversary show. Is this including new music?
Yeah, this is going to be a little bit of How I Do, or a lot of How I Do, but also a lot of the new music that I've been doing, from the EP Refried Mac. That's like 5 of my favorite Fleetwood Mac songs. We're gonna do
love that record. Yeah.
on that, and that was also done in Philadelphia with Tom Spiker, Steve McKee, Chuck Treese, all like great Philadelphia musicians. And and then we're gonna do some new songs, the songs that I've written or been a part of as far as during the pandemic stuff. And just kind of mix and blend it all. And this show is gonna have a guitarist and a drummer playing. We managed to figure out how to have a full sound with those two musicians. And it's just gonna be a great show. I encourage everybody to come out and get their tickets. If there's any left, definitely get one. And yeah, I'll be in a few different places, City Winery in Philly, Atlanta, Chicago. So I'm looking to get around, and just perform the old music, the new stuff, the current stuff, also songs from the new album Reset that I have ready to go, that we're gonna finally like release to everyone pretty much after we get the 20th anniversary vinyl out and going. And soon after, we're gonna follow up with Reset. So I'm really excited to hear that. And yeah, that's just performing is what I'm trying to do right now. And just being stuck inside with the pandemic, and then all the regulations and rules change. It's been hard to kind of get a steady flow of doing shows in out in public. So right now it's just a good time, and it seems like things are calming down. And if they're not, then people are just coming out, and we're gonna be out there to perform.
I'm Toya Haynes for PhillyCAM Voices. When it's raining.